Yes, Ben & Jerry's is the first business we've ever owned and opened together. We both come from business backgrounds. So I come from 10 years of sales. Mel comes from close to 15 years of logistics and inventory management. And so we were looking for something we could kind of marry those skills together and start a business with.
That's great. So tell us a bit, what was it that drew you to Ben & Jerry's particularly as a brand?
We both love the brand. We've been buying it and eating it for years, well before we moved to New Zealand 5 years ago. And so I've been buying it since a kid. For me, it evokes a lot of nostalgia, just kind of visiting the shops as a kid. I had a friend that worked in a shop in high school. We used to always go visit. So I have a lot of love for the product, for the brand. I think we both like the brand's ideology as well. And it seemed like a really natural fit for us to kind of go into business with Ben & Jerry's.
All right, we'll come back to a bit more about the ideology of Ben & Jerry's shortly, but can you tell us what you see as the benefits of becoming a franchisee over starting up your own business, when you're starting out in owning a business?
Absolutely. So, we went through a process where we talked about opening a handful of different businesses. Should we start from scratch? Should we franchise? Whatever it was. And I think for us, franchising really worked. So for us, franchising was great because it was a turnkey solution. It meant that it took a lot of the guesswork out of starting a business. So obviously with this, there's marketing, and there's product, and there's management, and there's finance, and there's a whole bunch of things, but it took a lot of those kind of pieces out of the equation for us, and we were able to handle a lot of those things without doing the legwork that we would need to, let's say, creating our own product first, marketing that product, creating the brand, etc. So it's very, very easy for us.
That's great. So you talk that process was easy. The process of actually being accepted by Ben & Jerry's as a franchise holder, how was that? You talked about their ethos and you have to be a fit for their brand.
Absolutely, yeah. So it was a bit of a process. I don't know where it falls in terms of other franchises. For us, it was pretty painless. So it started just with a few conversations over the phone. So we had to apply to be a franchisee. And then from there, we went on to meet their head of retail for Australia and New Zealand, as well as their head of business development out of Singapore, who does all of Australasia. And it just was a conversation. It was a very kind of organic process for Ben & Jerry's. They wanted to see what we were like. I think for them, initially, it was finding out who we are and what we're all about, as opposed to kind of the nitty-gritty of our experience first. So they wanted to see kind of our personal ideology, are we a fit for the brand? And from there, it kind of went into probably the very traditional things you see with a franchise. What is your business experience? What are you bringing to the table in that regard? Your finances and everything else that a franchise is going to look for to make sure that you can support the store moving forward. And then from there, it was just a process of finding the right site, finding the right place for our store.
And did you decide on Wellington, or did they help you decide, saying we don't have a presence in Wellington?
They helped us. So again, this was a process that kind of happened very organically. We originally wanted to open in Queenstown, and that was our first plan. And then once kind of COVID hit, Queenstown wasn't the best place to invest in. A market that's so reliant on international tourism wasn't the best bet for us right now. And this opportunity kind of fell in our lap. They had already had a desire to open in Wellington. They had been eyeballing this space in particular, and then they presented it to us and asked us if we were interested in it. Ben & Jerry's did a lot of legwork before we even started talking about Cuba Street. So what they do is they reach out to a couple other companies that look at footfall and foot traffic. Is one of the things they look at the most, is how much business could we potentially get. Once we kind of came into the conversation, we knew it was a perfect location. We had lived in Wellington before. We're well aware of the iconic bucket fountain outside our door, the kids' playground, the pedestrian-only access here on Cuba Street. And so for us, it was a no-brainer, kind of opening here. I can't think of a better spot to open an ice cream shop in Wellington.
And you were open quite late into the evening, you must see different kind of foot traffic after 10 o'clock.
Absolutely, yeah, it varies, and obviously Cuba Street is a very eclectic place, to say the least. We do steady business throughout the day, and you definitely see our clientele, our customer base kind of change throughout the day. During the day, we get a lot of people on their lunch break, who are working nearby, come in for a little snack. And towards the afternoons and after school, you get a lot of families in, and then late at night it changes again. What we typically do is most of our business is actually in the evenings. So usually between, let's say, 6 and 9 p.m. is the bulk of our business. And I think it's mostly people who are going out to dinner, and then they come in for a snack afterwards. And then kind of post 10, 11 o'clock, you get people who are out having a couple drinks, and sometimes they want a snack, that sort of thing.
So you're more likely to sell a cone or a cup of ice cream, or are these the locals who live in the apartments nearby stocking up on their big pots to go home and watch Netflix?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. That's we get a lot of those late night come in their sweatpants and they come up, they go grab a pint to bring home and watch a movie or something.
COVID and the airport, how has that impacted on your sales and foot traffic out there?
Quite a bit. So the airport is seeing about 50% the passenger numbers that they were seeing pre-COVID. And that's kind of pretty consistent month after month. I think the reality is that COVID is affecting our business and probably other hospitality businesses just as much as the airport as it is this store or our store in Auckland. So we're not really seeing these stores necessarily do any better than the airport is, unfortunately. We're doing our best to kind of mitigate that. We bring down our costs as much as we can. We're looking at our hours and seeing if we should change our hours or whatnot. But it's been a huge struggle, we're just not having enough people out and about. Absolutely, yeah.
Order my pint of ice cream?
Yeah. We use Uber Eats as well as Delivery Easy, which is, and Menu Log, so we use 3 of them, and Delivery Easy is a local brand. And so we use those, so that's been awesome for us in this time, especially as people are staying home more. It seems we're doing our best to kind of market to that crowd and ramp up our business through those platforms.
And do you have a target demographic? Is there a typical age group that is more likely to be buying ice cream?
Not really. It's it's age 3 to anywhere. No, not really. I mean, we target to pretty much everyone. I think our bright colors, our quirkiness definitely attracts a younger customer. So we have a ton of kids that come through here, which is great for us, and a ton of families. But we're happy to sell ice cream to anybody, and we make a delicious product, and so I think we appeal to a broad range of customers.
Are you noticing you have got these quirky flavours, but do you notice that New Zealanders are choosing things that may not necessarily have been big sellers in America or other countries? Do we have a national taste that's emerging?
There's some things you get asked for that sometimes we don't have. That are definitely very specific national tastes, like hokey pokey or rum and raisin, that sort of thing. I get asked for quite a bit, but no, for the most part, the flavors we have seem to really appeal to New Zealanders. So we work with a team that's based in Australia, and they kind of decide what the range is for Australia and New Zealand. And they've done a really good job picking flavors and importing flavors that seem to really resonate with our customers. And what we've kind of found for the most part is the flavors that are doing really well here in this store are the flavors that are, for the most part, doing really well globally. So salted caramel blondie is one, and that's one that Kiwis love. But the other ones that do well globally, like chocolate fudge brownie or chocolate chip cookie dough, do great at all stores.
To your clients, are you across social media?
We are on social media.
How are you getting the message out to people who aren't passing by?
We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and that's just a growing platform for us, or a platform that we need to do more work in to kind of grow our fan base. And then Ben & Jerry's does a bit of work nationally as well, putting ad campaigns out as well on their own social media platforms, and that certainly helps us. But marketing is something that is an ongoing effort. just trying to get out to the people. And we frequently find that we run into customers that didn't know we existed yet, even though we've been here almost a year. So obviously it's an area that always needs fine-tuning.
Well, what training and support does the brand give you as a franchise holder? Do you have ongoing training courses, whether probably online these days? Are they always there to give you the support with this sort of stuff?
Pretty much everything is online now, especially now due to COVID. Everything's kind of forced it online. So our initial training started with, I spent a couple weeks at the store up in Ponsonby and Auckland, just training on site, kind of learning every single facet of the store. Normally the Ben & Jerry's training would include somebody flying over from Australia, but due to travel restrictions, we kind of had to forego that and kind of go with a different method. But did the training up there, and then it's just kind of like ongoing communication, and I wouldn't say training courses per se, but communication and working through things with the team in Sydney.
And the other franchisees in New Zealand, you're all working together and giving each other a bit of support?
Absolutely. Yeah, so we have a great little network, and that's kind of one of the benefits. And we're a pretty small network, and that's kind of one of the benefits is we talk quite a bit. So there's only 3 franchisees in New Zealand, and so we're a tight little network, and we communicate with each other and work out problems, and they're a phone call away. The type of people that we reach out to whenever we have a query, and most likely if we're having a problem, they've had the same problem and that sort of thing, and so we really work together. And the same goes for the stores in Australia. So we're on a first-name basis with many of the franchisees over there, and they're the type of people that we have a question, they've been through it a few years longer than we have, we send them a message, and we get an answer back. And these are people that have kind of learned from experience, so we're kind of able to gain their best practices and try to implement them over here if as we see fit.
A lot of benefit to someone starting out to be able to tap into that knowledge and experience.
Absolutely, yeah. We don't know what we don't know, So if we can kind of learn from someone else that's maybe made those mistakes once before, then we can avoid making them.
In keeping with the brand's giving back to the community values, you supported the Wellington City Library Summer Reading Program this year. A big thank you to Ben & Jerry's for your support, and I understand from the person running that program that around 1,000 vouchers for ice creams have been awarded to young people in our communities who've signed up for the reading program. What made you choose that particular program? Why have you reached out to Wellington City Libraries?
We are big fans of the library, of reading. Our family loves to read. My wife does, our daughters do. We have our own little challenge at home where our daughter reads a book. We give her, $1 every time she reads a chapter book, that sort of thing. So we're just big fans of reading, and so for us, it was like a very natural fit. We visit our local branch weekly, at least, and so it was a very natural fit for us to kind of partner with the library. And we wanted to do something that was just good in the community, that was going to encourage kids to get out there and read, do something good with their time during the summer. Needless to say, from a business perspective, obviously it broadens our reach as well, and it gives us access to, show that we're here to a lot of kids and families in the community. But I think it was just a very natural place for us to kind of connect to.
That's great, thank you. We have appreciated your support. Did you know that Wellington City Libraries has a dedicated business support librarian who can assist with aspects of retail, marketing and social media content, etc.?
I found out about this recently. I wasn't aware of it until pretty recently. I think it's pretty awesome. I think one of the hardest things about having your own business is that, and this is what we learned very quickly, is you have to do everything yourself. And so you are the finance department and your management, and you're in charge of logistics and inventory and just every single facet of marketing and every single facet of the business. And so it's a lot to do, and so I think it's great that there's things out there that programs you can rely on like this, and something we'll look into. One of the things we've done is try to lean on our staff as much as possible. So rather than have our staff just think about this as another part-time job scooping ice cream, and most of our staff are either in high school or university, so we try to lean on them and their skills. And so more recently we had one of our staff members was about to graduate with a degree in marketing, so we used her to help try to build part of our marketing plan. And I try to use our staff and kind of recognize where their skills are as much as possible to lean on them to help us kind of fill in the gaps of the work that we need done.
And that's great for them to be able to have a real life experience at what they've been doing in that area at university.
And that's like always one of my goals, and I think back to the jobs I've had and what I've gotten out of it, and the great managers I've had along the way, and what have they done to kind of lift me up. And that's my goal, if I can help them walk away and not just have this be a line on their resume that's just scooping ice cream. Can I teach them something about finance along the way? And I share often intimate parts of the business with our staff regarding finance, how we order, why we do things a certain way, in hopes that, obviously hopefully that they can help our business more, but when they leave our business and go on to something else someday, they can use that, and it'll actually help them. It was the right thing for us, so I can't speak for anybody else. I think for us, at the time we were in, it was perfect. It took a lot of the guesswork out of the equation, and I think that's the real benefit of franchising is, all the research and development that goes into starting a business was done for us. So we were able to just kind of implement and go. I think now we're in a place that we're much more comfortable with the business, with many aspects of it, and if we were to do something else in the future, I think we'd be a lot more comfortable potentially going out on our own and creating something. But for us right now, it was perfect. And I think for a lot of people, a lot of franchisees, it's the same thing, regardless of the brand. It just takes a lot of that guesswork out of the equation. And there's a lot of equity in the brand that we just got to use. People know Ben & Jerry's. A lot of people love Ben & Jerry's, or at least they want to try it. And so we were able to just kind of hit the ground running.